Croeso and all, welcome back everyone to Fearless in Devotion, the Wrexham AFC podcast, sponsored by the Fat Ball Bar and Restaurant. There's a fantastic newsletter that you should sign up to, the Substack, which is Wrexham on the Game. Is that right, Liam?
I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah. It's something like that. You could find the QR code in uh every podcast we've done for the last sort of few months. It won't be on today's because Andy is living at large at some festival. We don't know which one. Anyone
He's
know?
watching he's watching a band called Bombay Bicycle Club, I believe. Not
I've heard
familiar
of them.
myself.
That sounds very Reading Festival. The Reading Festival is on, so
Uh
I can well imagine Gilpin is adding to his third liver, no doubt. So that's where all the sweet podcast money goes on his medical bills.
we need we need some we need drunk Andy again uh to discuss the fact that Wrexham still don't have a win in the championship. 3 games in. Let's get right to it. It looked like we were going to finally get that first win, only for us to unfortunately give away a 2 goal advantage with another relatively late concession being our downfall. Though it could have been worse, Liam. I was thinking of you when I watched. I was at a wedding yesterday, so I couldn't watch the match. But they could have won at the end, couldn't they, Sheffield? And it would have been right in
Yeah.
front of you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and they would have probably come straight over, or maybe they wouldn't, given that we were nice to them. But it was, yeah, all the players were just out on their asses at the final whistle. They were literally collapsed on the floor, and there was a bloke behind me going, get up and fight." I was like, "The game's over now, mate. It's they can't really do much else." It was a tough one to take. I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm not used to losing. I've really, I'm really not used to it anymore. You get so much nice stuff, and then as soon as things start going against you a bit, some people will say, "Oh, typical Wrexham fans." I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. We didn't lose, but just the nature of it, 2-0 up, coasting, and then we suddenly decide to let Barry Bannon have the free reign of the racecourse ground. The one man on that team, you really don't want to have it. I think that was the turning point really, when because Dobson kept him out of the game quite well, I thought, in the first half, but as the game wore on, he looked more tired, and there was no one else really filled in that role. So I think that was one of the main differences.
Tim, should we look at the positives before we focus on the negatives a bit more? More off the mark, 2 goals. The sign of what's to come, hopefully.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they were he won't score too easy goals, to be honest. Wrexham, they were very, very, very. Well, you can tell why. You can tell the reason why Sheffield Wednesday needed a emergency goalkeeper. They got this Hovarth from Cardiff, literally hands like empty crisp packets, basically. Um, Yeah, they were just scrappy goals, well taken at the end of the day. He ghosts in, he's alert to everything. That's what you want. You just want a goal poacher, very, very sharp. He's always thinking a couple of steps ahead. I like that. You can tell he's operated at this level and higher. And it bodes well for Wales. Obviously, Craig Bellamy named his squad next Thursday. And can you imagine if there's no Wrexham representation in their Welsh squad? It would be outcry. It's definitely a South Wales conspiracy. I'd be on the phone to Noel Mooney saying, right, give me Bellamy's number now. So it's going to be good to have some representation next week. But yeah, more again, not for the first time already this season, is kind of the bright spark. Out of all the signings we've got, obviously we've seen more than some of the others as of yet, but just a really good all-round player, and you can kind of see there was a mini clamour, wasn't there, for Ollie Palmer? But let's be perfectly honest, he's not going to get in front of more on that form, really. But yeah, really good to watch. Just trying to iron out the defensive woes, which who'd have thought we'd be saying that so soon, so early on, considering we are usually extremely hard to beat. And then, like Parky said
Yeah.
against West Brom, he said, if people are going to score here, then we need to make it hard for them. Did we make it hard for Sheffield Wednesday? No.
Well, on that note, Liam, you mentioned about giving Barry Bannon free reign. Is that what it seemed like in the second half? It was just sort of he was running the show, basically.
Yeah, he popped up all over the pitch. Like, it wasn't just in midfield. There was one point when he was on the wing and he had the ball, and everything came through him for them. No disrespect to any of their other players, but he's the sort of player where I think we were sort of linked with him at one point, weren't we? And clearly he showed his loyalty to them, and all respect to him for it. But he was the difference maker, and I just felt a bit like we just ran out of ideas a bit almost. I'm not going to be too critical of Parky and be one of these sort of Parky out people, but it was just that it was more the substitutions. You do the two striker sub, Moore comes off, and then you're still playing the long balls, and the ball doesn't stick up top. It was a bit like Southampton in that regard, in that everything just kept coming back at us, kept coming back at us. So I'm not, it's one of those,
No, join me, Liam. Parky out. He's got to
yeah.
go.
Well, he's too close to me. That's what, I'm afraid of him.
Yeah, he's too close to
you were the one saying stand up and fight, weren't you? Come on, it was definitely
that
you.
did get me. Like, stand up and fight like a man.
Get up, you cowards! Get on your feet.
Was there anything in particular, Tim? Obviously, Bannon's goal, he was just totally unmarked. Was there anything in particular that you noticed about our sort of defensive frailties? Was it just that we're not picking up men? There's just a bit too much space sort of in front of the defense.
I mean, I'll profess I'm not that sort of person that psychoanalyzes stuff inside out because I'm just not a football scholar. There's a lot of people out there that can do threads on goals and talking about false nines and upside down sixes, whatever. I don't give two shits about that, to be honest. I think if you overcomplicate
sixes, never
yeah, I just made that shit up.
Oh, great! Well, thing is, what's mad is that could be real.
Probably, I'm sure somebody will tell me otherwise, but. Like I think in my head, if you overcomplicate it, you try and become a master tactician, which I'm not, or will have any interest in being. It kind of ruins the fun of it. Just football's a very simple game. Score the goals, keep them out the other end. That's my view of it. That said, it was patently obvious the amount of gaps in that performance. I mean, we were nowhere near half the players, nowhere near them. Like stepped off, and stepped off, time and time again. And I was like, why are we inviting wave after wave after wave of attack? Why are we not getting beyond the halfway line with no control in midfield whatsoever? Nothing. And I don't want to use the whole valuation of these players as a stick to beat them with. People will say, oh, well, for that sort of money, we should be getting a lot better. Yes, there's an argument for that. There's still a slight argument for they're still gelling, blah, blah. Yes, there's an argument for that as well. However, yesterday was not a free hit. It was a free hit more for Sheffield Wednesday at the moment. Probably almost every game is going to feel like that for them at this stage. To be in control in the manner we were, in what felt like a very pre-season-y vibe, it was very, oh, well, this is very easy. And I just thought, well, it's the Wrexham way. If we don't get a third, then are we going to regress to the Wrexham of old where you're just never fully out of sight? Even if it looks like you're in complete control, you're never fully out of sight. And so it proved. And I think it might have been the Cadamarteri goal. It was such a good goal, but it was allowed to be a good goal because it was like a 20 pass build up. We're just watching it. We're watching it, like ball watching instead of doing anything about it. And I mean, there's a lot to look at, and there's a lot that you kind of got a question mark early on, which is a good thing. I'd rather have the question marks early on and iron them out at this stage than be a little bit worried by December if nothing's happening. Because like somebody said, well, I said to somebody yesterday, Cody is a great talker on Monday Night Football and all these podcasts and needs to start doing it more on the pitch. If he's the leader in that back line, lead better, I would say. Something's not quite clicking yet. I don't know what it is. We get Callum Doyle midweek. This all singing, all dancing, amazing defender that Man City have got a clause in to buy back, and we left him on the bench. And you have to look at the manager then and go, why are we not bringing somebody like that to see a game out when it was quite clearly we were under the cosh? It made no sense to me at all.
You know what they need to do? They need to stand up and fight, in my opinion. But well, on that note, let's look at what Keefer Moore said after the game, because you did say that we're still gelling, aren't we? And that's absolutely an argument as well. And he said that the way we played in the first half, that's the foundation we can build on. There are new faces in the building. It's going to take time to gel, and we need to do that quicker. Pressure is a privilege, a fabulous turn of phrase. To have that on your shoulders and wear this shirt is a massive honour. Each and every one of us will use that, and we will improve as a team, and the results will come. He did admit that they weren't good enough in the second half, and we invited too much pressure on ourselves. So they will recognise it. They'll know that they're going wrong. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back and how we manage to gel together, because it's not quite working at the moment. Shall we talk about some off-field stuff? Because we never got to discuss the uh, drama, I suppose, of whether will they, won't they allow Sheffield Wednesday supporters to the trust to show their banner. There was a bit of toing and froing, and in the end, the club did allow it. Liam, what did you make of that? Because it did seem an odd decision to reject it in the first place.
Yeah, my biggest issue in all of this is sort of the disconnect between what the owners say, and clearly, they truly believe in that, hence why it got sorted out so quickly in the end. But what they say and their ethos for the club, and some of the decisions that get made at an operational level, I think of it like this: if you were working for the club and you thought, what would the owners want in this situation? Would you turn around and say, no, you can piss off and take your protest banners away? It just doesn't make sense. And people go on about ground regulations, etc., etc. I don't see how the message was construed as political. Let's say there is some technicality in there that stops it. There's ways around it. Just a quick phone call with the supporters trust, or something like that, saying, oh, I can't be seen to endorse this, but da 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 da. There's ways around situations which don't involve looking a bit ham-fisted, and having an email where they can turn around and say, oh, well, look, they've said you can't take that in. I think that's the biggest issue. It's just, I don't know. I was glad the supporters trust, our supporters trust, who we haven't heard from in a long time, if we're entirely honest. But I did actually think for once their statement was spot on, and probably made a difference as well, because I do know that they actually contacted the executive team with their concerns. So in some ways that's a positive, because at least that dialogue was there, and someone listened. But it's just the thing that happens in the first place. I'd be kicking myself if I was the owners, because look how well they turned it around. Look how well Rob managed to turn it on its head.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because now what I find odd is that they then publicly essentially endorsed the banner.
Yeah.
So you're going from a situation where you don't want to seem like you're endorsing something, but because of the way that something's been dealt with, you then have to go out of your way to publicly back it. And presumably there won't be any issue. It'll be interesting to see if there is any pushback on it from the EFL, Tim, because presumably there won't be. And in which case it will kind of show up the original decision to be ludicrous, wouldn't it?
I don't see it. I don't see it happening, because they would have looked at it in depth. Sean Harvey would have looked at it and gone, okay, it's not political. They're just saying the club's up for sale, and this is our opinion towards an owner. There's nothing, there's nothing offensive on. There's no offensive word or anything like that. And yeah,
Well, it's
I'm
interesting you mentioned Sean Harvey, isn't it, Tim? Because there have been a few people online who've pointed out that Sean was in charge of the EFL when Mr. Shansiri bought Sheffield
I
Wednesday.
know the irony of it all. The irony of it all. But yeah, if we look at the here and now, yeah, it was weird. It was the fastest U-turn I've seen by the club for a while, which bodes well for the fans advisory board. I think that in its new formation, because if they're sitting up and taking notice of fans, whether that's been through a cursory search of social media, or because the owners were tagged into various things, because there was a lot of outcry over it, as in to say, you know what, we've been there, and the reason we want to show solidarity is because we've been there, and this shouldn't still be happening in the modern day. Well over 20 years since it happened to us. So, not one time, it was more than a few. So, it was a weird thing, because I mean, I take no credit for it, by the way. And some people said, "Oh, well, you had the fearless thing had a say in doing the black and gold until it's sold thing, and suggesting about wearing the black and gold shirts from last year." I saw it somewhere. I think somebody mentioned it when I was scrolling, and then I sort of slept on it, and I got up and thought, well, I'll just put it out there. And it did, and I got like something like 500,000 views or something. And then that tied in with the Sheffield Wednesday Trust, and them guys got a hold of it. And then obviously that was sort of spun by WST on Twitter, and then Rob got a hold of that, and then lo and behold, they've got a lot of surplus gold kits from last year to shift. Right, got to ask the question why there's 10,000 gold shirts still remaining, but that's by the by. Please go and buy them. It's for a good cause at the moment. You got until tomorrow for those 25 quid to go straight to the Sheffield Wednesday Supporters Trust. In the meantime, it's still a very good shit at 25 quid. Anyway, I've gone off tangent. Sorry.
Well, no, it's fine.
Either way, it was great. It shows you, like Liam said, it shows you very much that our owners are very much in touch with the fan base. They speak to us. They've been on here. They speak to a lot of others individually. But there are still lessons to be learned by people further down the food chain. Like at Olympic, they'll get some things right. They don't get everything right. And this was a case in point where they didn't get it right. But to their credit, they made a very swift U-turn. And there was a lot of people saying, well, it's great that the club did it, but it shouldn't have happened in the first place. Yeah, fine. Everybody makes mistakes, though. So
Tim mentioned the fans advisory board there. Liam, I wonder whether this episode actually shows the value in having a truly independent supporters trust. And I know that you've got thoughts on this, and I wonder what you make of that, because is it not good to see the supporters trust once again sort of using some of the clout that they have? Of course, Barry is the chairman, Barry Jones the chairman, I believe, still of the WST,
Yeah.
isn't he? And he's been on the podcast.
I saw
times.
Barry before I saw Liam in the drunk monk on Saturday, and spoke to him and said what you did was a really good intervention, and he was buzzing about it. So I
Good.
think we're looking to get Barry back on soon. I did suggest that, so maybe that can be something for Barry to come in. He's got a lot of other things that he can tell us about to a certain point. Anyway,
It's fine. Well, Liam, what do you make of that? Because the fans advisory board, of course, wouldn't be truly independent in its kind of formation and its
Yeah.
constitution, I believe, wouldn't it? It's essentially part of the club.
Yeah, to my mind, what that statement was is what the supporters trust should be. Echoing the voice of the fans. And there's lots of great groups that do it. Across the country. I always refer to Spirit of Shankly, Liverpool, places like that. And it's just like you say, that independence. So no one can accuse them of, oh, well, you're in with the club or anything like that. And we all know the issues historically with the supporters trust. I mean, people seem so keen to relive those old battles, which I just think,
Is it not
like,
ancient history now?
yeah,
Like,
in my opinion, it
does
is.
anyone have an issue with Barry? Not as far as I'm
No,
aware. Are there any accusations that he's done anything improperly?
no, exactly. So it's just let them get on with doing the job which they're there to do. They've still got a fairly decent, not as big as it was, but they've still got a fairly decent amount of numbers. But it's things like that, and things like, I know a lot of people I was speaking to on Saturday were concerned about the fact that away tickets now go on sale so close to the date that away travel and stuff like that becomes unaffordable if you want to do it on the train or something like that. So it's issues like that that I want to see them. They're not asking to be involved in making every decision, but if there's a decision that impacts fans, there should be that dialogue there, and I don't see what the issue is.
that balance got to be right, isn't it? Because I remember last year people were complaining that there's too many tickets released in a short space of time. So you've got to get that balance right and look ahead and see where the scheduling allows for it. But especially so far this year with Southampton and Millwall, it's been like a short window of opportunity to get everything in place. Regarding WST stuff, it's testament to the running of the club that they've not really had to step in the time of Rob and Ryan's stewardship. That said, they've lay in wait for an opportunity that when they were needed, when they were called upon, they stepped in and they did the right thing, and it was a very, very powerful, to the point and carefully worded statement. I'll be perfectly honest, I'm one of the, I dare say many, I'm not sure. When Rob and Ryan rode in on the white horse, I thought, great, we don't need WST anymore. I don't need to keep paying my 5 or 10 quid a month, wherever it was. So therefore I stopped my membership. And I am ashamed of that. And I told Barry that in the pub. So I'm going to renew. And I would definitely encourage everybody else to either renew or join up again. So wst.org.uk, I think it is. Because they're there for that exact reason. If things are to sort of not quite go right, or it's not in the best interests of the fans, or it doesn't quite sit well with the ethos and the promises laid out by the club and Rob and Ryan, then they're there to address that and have that voice. So I would encourage everybody to get behind them again.
Interesting stuff. Do let us know what you think in the comments, online, on social media as well. Whatever, on your ticks and your talks and your grams and whatever. Do let us know what you think. Will you be joining the WST? Do you think that it would be a positive step to do? Let us know. Any other comments on the game, gents, before we move on? No injuries this week. Hallelujah.
No, I
Was
don't
there an
think there
injury?
was there?
No, I mean, Keefer Moore went down at one point and I was a bit worried, but then he got up and played another 10, 15 minutes. So I don't think there was any concern there. I mean, one of my only observations of Keefer Moore is because he is so good and he is so useful. It almost seems like we're quite reliant on him to the point, and then when he's taken off, it's a bit like, what do we do now? Who do we give it to help it stick up there? But maybe that'll be a nice problem to have if he can continue doing that.
This reminds me of in the National League when we used to when any of the big boys went off and we used to lump the ball up to Bryce Hosanna as as a long ball, and we go, why are we doing this to the shortest player on the pitch? Although he was a very good jumper. On the note of Keefer Moore, Liam and Tim, great, fantastic intervention this week by Joey Mack on Twitter, now known as X, who says, not enough praise on this week's podcast for Dr. Rhys Williams' perfect breakdown on how minute that Keefer Moore ankle injury really was. I expect this to become a reoccurring segment. Please and thank you. You can start with Wind Ass, or as he calls him, Wind Horse, this week. So that's what I'll do. I'll tell you. I don't know whether anything's officially come out of this, but he's done his hamstring. It didn't look too serious. I don't know what grade it is, but I'm going to say it'll be 4 weeks and no more. So we've done a week, 3 more, and he'll be playing again. You heard it here first. Thank you
Dr.
very
Nick
much.
Riviera.
Yeah. Right. Time to move on. We'll have another midweek pod out this week where we can discuss Millwall away next week. For those of you not too familiar with the reputation there, that's an interesting one, isn't it? That'll be that'll be the first one in a while, won't it, Tim? When was the last time we played Millwall away?
Oh, a long time. But it is, yeah, yeah. Well, there's plenty of chatter in the pub about this the other day about Millwall. They tried to transform themselves into a family-friendly club, didn't they? Maybe they're still
Mm.
trying, but I'm sure deep down they revel in the "nobody likes us, we don't care" chant. Um,
For
yeah, I
those
mean,
who don't know, they have a
I
reputation. They had some hooligans, didn't they? And they had a reputation for being a very intimidating place to visit.
yeah, they were often top of the table for a number of banning orders year after year after year, and proudly so. It has to be said from from their angle. Um, yeah, we don't condone mindless thuggery and violence.
But only
Um,
mindful thuggery and violence. I'm fully in favour of that.
Not
Always
even
have
that. No carnage. But if you want to spend 400 quid on a nice coat and fight with somebody and get it ripped, then that's your issue. So whatever.
Quite. But before that, Liam, we have Preston North End in the League Cup on Tuesday night away. What do we make? When do we start really caring about the League Cup, do we think?
I enjoy. I mean, I'm one of these. I'll watch Wrexham chase a crisp packet round the park just because I
Paul
just don't want
Rutherford
to
did
be.
that.
He did, yeah,
Oh,
he did. He got paid in buttons for it, according to some fans. But I digress. Yeah, I'm not going to be there, but I'll be watching it on telly with intrigue because the way the amount of changes we've had, I want to see more of the new players. I'm still trying to get to grips with a bit like Tim. I'm not a master tactician or anything like that, but I just like to see more of these new players to understand what they're about. And Doyle is one for me where at the moment, sort of on paper, I'm pinning Doyle down as the signing of the summer just because of the potential that he has. But also, not just potential, he's already got 100 odd championship games under his belt at the age of 21. So I hope he plays on Tuesday night. And yeah, I'm Parky typically probably look to make about 6 or 7 changes if not more, knowing him. So we probably will get a good look at some of the players we haven't seen as much of. If we'll ever see George Thomason is anyone's guess, but yeah, we shall see.
Tim, are you going up to Deepdale?
I am, yeah, 10 quid. Can't really go wrong. 10 quid. It's a nice ground, really. It's a nice ground. Haven't been there in a very long time. And they've got a lovely, lovely statue of, I think it's Tom Finney. I think is this Tom Finney or Shankly? One of them. They got a massive statue outside, and I thought I'm gonna have a little look at that just to see how the Joey one's going to match up in future. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it because competition. There's less pressure. There's more unpredictability about it all, and if we manage to get one over Paul Narrow Eyes Heckenbottom, then I'll take that all day long. Yeah, it'll be good, bank holiday weekend, then straight into a bit of midweek footy, happy days. And yeah, I'm not overly, are you overly asked that we've not won this season if you take the cup out of it? I'm genuinely not. And maybe that's because we are legacy fans where we've been used to seeing Wrexham get dicked week in, week out at, football backwaters such as Ebbsfleet and Grays Athletic or wherever it may be. So it's kind of sadistically, strangely refreshing in a weird way to know that we're not the Billy Big Bollocks that we have been in recent years. But the caveat to that is that side is definitely playing way below its level at the moment. I think they know that. They've all kind of said that, yeah, we're still clicking, but there's only so many weeks that'll pass by before you can keep saying we're still clicking, we're still to gel. If that line gets trotted out in another 4 or 5 weeks, it won't wash. So until that time, I would say just keep getting behind them, make a lot more noise. We might have more new players in this week.
Exactly, and also what I would say, I think I mentioned this last week, but I'm a big fan of the old narrative. And what I want in an ideal world would be for us to lose every game in August and September, and then come absolutely herring down. So I had to stop myself from swearing there because that's what I do. Herring down to win and go on a crazy win streak. Everyone writes us off, and then we do a massive surge afterwards. I'd be a big fan of that.
It could well happen. You think of that first season under Parky when things between August and December were really hairy, and then just one signing made all the difference. I mean, we've had more than one signing, so that'll be a bit different. But yeah, I think I'm not panicking yet. But I do need to learn to just take it a bit better when we draw or we lose, because you do get that taste for winning, and when it doesn't happen, you just start throwing your toys and telling people to stand up and fight. So yeah,
that second half, I realised that I'd blown a gasket. Like I hadn't been that furious in ages, which again is testament to how well this team has done over the years.
Guys, come on.
But seriously, right? I mean, you got to call it as you see it, and we can be happy clapping, which has been easy to do. But literally, and I said this, and I'll still stand by it. There's not many times where Wrexham realistically have ever truly let us down. Really, but that second half was unacceptable. It was unacceptable because of the circumstances, because of who we're playing, because of their circumstances. And I was just like, why are we regressing? Why are we stepping back? Why are we not on the front foot? Why are we not putting in a juicy tackle? There's no yellow cards in that match from us.
Does that help though? If they're
just show a bit of box. See, you starting me off. Just show a bit of box.
Go on, Roy Keane. Go on.
They didn't. No, but they didn't. I'm not saying it to be controversial, edgy. I genuinely was pissed off on that second half, and I think most people were, because nobody saw it. We just thought, well, get another one. It could be a cricket score, this. But you have to credit Sheffield Wednesday, the players they put out. Yeah. They really, really galvanised themselves, and they got probably a well-deserved point. And let's be honest, but let's not gloss over it. They nearly won it. They nearly won it at the death. If it hadn't been for Danny Ward.
Yeah, great save, by the way.
Very good. Yeah, I was quite close to it. So, no, really good reactions. Close the angle down really fast. But yeah, putting in tackles, that's their job, isn't it, Tim? That's their job.
Well, it is their job. And if they mistime it, so be it. Get a yellow card. But we're missing Rathbone. This is going to be a problem because Wrexham are now, according to Alan Nixon in the know, Wrexham have bids in for 3 midfielders: Jordan James, Andy Irving, and Will Smallbone. I'm not ready for a Smallbone and a Rathbone in the same midfield.
This is
That's a
like that
lot
Skelly Bones storybook.
that's a lot. That's a lot of boning in midfield, isn't it? I don't know where you go with that, to be honest.
Oh God, do we really
We're
think
going to
we
have
need
3 bones of war in midfield.
Can't decide if
Bones?
Rhys's internet is slower than Wrexham's start to the championship or not.
Do we think we like? Do we think we're aiming to get all 3 of those though? Because for me, we just need one of them, and maybe that's why they're putting. They'll put the bids in and see which one comes to fruition or something like that. I mean, out of those 3, I'll be put my cards on the table. Jordan James is the one that I really want to see because, like you said, I think it's that sort of tenacity in midfield that we're missing. It's the Ollie Rathbone. One thing I will say in Parkinson's favour is that I think if Rathbone was injured, his thoughts were that he would use Thomason. They're both injured, so he's a bit buggered in that situation. So yeah, we shall see.
Lots to discuss.
Is my internet okay now? Because it's doing my nut in. I think I'm back. Right.
It was. I was like, I couldn't decide if it was mine or yours. It's very sketchy. Now you look like Holly from Red Dwarf. You're just a face in a dark background.
I got my speed test on the go here, and it's just up and down like a yo-yo.
How the times have changed since we started this
Good
podcast.
grief.
When I was the one.
Just press restart on your dial-up modem, and you'll be fine.
Right. I'm going to read some correspondence, hopefully, and it's going to allow me to. Because on the note of happy clappers, Jeff Lang 3390 says, now everyone's paused, which makes me worry that no one can hear me. Can you hear me?
No, we can hear you, but you
Oh,
you need to sort your fucking internet out.
We can hear you fine though.
Thank you. Jeff Lang says, lads, we are 6 points off top spot. Cheer up. Well, Jeff, now we're 8 points off. So, sort yourself out.
Hey,
No,
leave Jeff
thank you
alone.
for
He's a
listening,
friend
Jeff.
of mine.
Really appreciate it. It
Personal
was
friend of
Jeff
mine.
shouting stand up and fight.
Wow.
No, Jeff was. I don't think Jeff was there.
That's the new segment sorted.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff.
Yeah. How many points off top are we every week? We had some correspondence last week. Chad, the sports fan, says saying biased instead of biased still isn't as bad as could have instead of could have. Yeah, fine, agreed. But you know what? We can hate both things at once. JQAESQ says, Rhys spot on about bias. Been seeing it the past couple of years. Game's gone. John. JNYC says, thank you, Rhys. The knuckleheads who say bias when it's actually biased is infuriating. Thank you, Jay. So there'll be more grammar pedantry next week. I don't know. I should have thought of something this week, but let's just go with could have. I'm with that chap, whoever he was, Chad. If you say could have, please stop. If you say must have, please stop. If you say would have, please stop. Tim, any thoughts?
Callum McFadzean is a brilliant player. Just for if you know, you know. This is fine.
You went for the wrong Callum. Always go for Callum Powell.
I was gonna.
People don't mind.
I meant to go for Callum Powell, and I realised I got it wrong. But it turns out there's a groundswell of support for Callum McFadzean, and I'm sure the Radcliffe Borough player will be delighted with that fact. So it's fine. Everyone's a winner. Everyone is a National League winner, and that's all that matters.
Oh dear, oh dear. Oh gosh. What was that thing that David Cameron said about Twitter?
I didn't do it.
Tweets. Maybe let's discuss.
Not
Who knows?
not
Right. Thank you, as ever, everyone, for listening to Fearless in Devotion. We'll see you all soon. Any other business quickly before we say goodbye to our wonderful listeners and viewers?
I think we recently mentioned it in the week, maybe, but Joey's kind of celebration and funeral midweek was beautiful and lovely, and he would have liked it. I think it wasn't too over the top, it wasn't too low key. It was somewhere pitched in the middle, and obviously the great and good from Wrexham and Liverpool and representatives of the other clubs and fans from all these clubs that he represented with distinction were all present and correct. And it was very, very, very fitting for a wonderful servant, but most importantly, a wonderful human being. So it was a privilege to be there, and may you rest in peace.
Well said. Thank you everyone for listening as ever, and we will see you in the week. Bye bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.